Reuben, I woke up today and there was a little snow coming down in my house. Not a fan of that.
Really?
You didn't have any?
Yeah, I had a little bit.
Oh, you mean really that I'm not a fan of it?
Yeah.
Have we met?
Yeah, I don't know if we've ever talked about snow.
Yeah, not a fan.
Well, my dad's from Maine, so I kind of grew up around a lot of snow.
Yeah, doesn't mean you like it.
I don't mind it.
Okay, I mind it. Not for me.
Okay.
Not for me.
Okay.
When I'm old, I'm going to be a snowbird.
Are you really?
I think so, yeah. And when I'm old, I mean in a few years, I'd like to do that.
Really?
I don't like the cold, yeah.
Maybe you stay in Arizona after the Super Bowl.
Maybe. Yeah, that's a good way to start this podcast. This is Eagle Eye presented by Nissan. He's Reuben Frank. I'm Dave Zangaro. A lot to talk about, as always, in this 12-1 season. The Eagles are really good offensively, and they're about to get one of their best players back. So we'll break that down every way possible. Micah Parsons had some things to say, not scathing, but we'll get into it. It's a talking point, and we'll have some fun with it. Matchups against the Bears. Jalen Hurts made sure we get to the matchups this week. We'll have to talk about those. And then
we don't want him mad at us.
You met the new punter yesterday, so we'll talk about Brett Kern a little bit. But the big headline for me this week is Dallas Goedert back at practice, likely going to play Sunday. That's a big boost for an offense that was already humming along pretty well.
Yeah, the 4 games he didn't play, they averaged 35 points and 426 yards per game.
They're the best offense in the league without him.
So, it's and I think this is something we both talked about. They really discovered some things in his absence that are going to come in handy. They got Quez more involved. The throwing to the running backs a little more. We've seen that. We've seen Miles get involved in the passing game, which I'm a big proponent of, and they just haven't done much of it. Jack Stoll caught the ball well. Mm-hmm. So
Grant Calcaterra a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, he knew he could catch. So they got more weapons than they had when he got hurt. The Eagles are really fortunate, Jordan Davis, Avonte Maddox, and Dallas, all 3 of those guys, the same pattern of on IR, out for 4 weeks, practice window opens, they start practicing, and they're going to play. They're really lucky. They really dodged some bullets there with those guys. Those are all important guys to this team. Those are all injuries that when they happen, we didn't know when they'd be back. You were hoping for 4 weeks, but certainly getting Goedert back is huge. And it's amazing. He's still second in the NFC among tight ends in receiving yards. That's how big a cushion he built up. And he's having a hell of a year. The whole Pro Bowl thing is a joke. He deserves to be there. I think we all know that.
If you don't know that, he wasn't on the ballot because he was on IR, which is silly.
Yeah, it's just stupid. So it'll be so good to have him back. And Jalen loves having that answer in the middle of the field. And such a big time playmaker. It's really incredible that the offense ran the way it did without him.
Yeah, and it's funny because the first game without him wasn't pretty. So those numbers are including the Colts game. It would be unfair to leave that out because they didn't have him in that game. But the 3 games since then, if you were to look at those 3 games, I mean, even better. That Colts game was like, man, we don't really know what we're doing yet. We're trying to figure it out. And they figured it out. And aside from just the players, we saw some different personnel packages too. We saw them go with some 10 personnel. We saw them throw some 21 out there with the 2 backs. So aside from just the players, the playbook is kind of opened up a little bit without him. Now, obviously, to get him back in the offense, he needs his targets. You need to feed him. He's just such an answer to any problem. He's such a nightmare matchup for defenses that, it's 3rd down and you need it. I mean, sure, you can look at AJ, you can look at Devontae. To me, the easiest answer is Dallas Goedert in the middle of the field.
Yeah, and they converted almost 50% of their 3rd downs while he was out, which is insane. Speaks volumes for Jalen.
And when they didn't, they just converted on 4th down.
Right. This speaks a lot about Jalen, what he's been doing on 3rd down. But yeah, and I'm curious if look, he's such a physical, violent player, and this is an injury that you really have to make sure he's totally healed. And I just, you wouldn't think they'll limit his snaps. I would think if he's playing, he's clear, and it's that simple. But you don't know how sore he's going to be, and that kind of thing. So
the nice thing is, in a way, that it wasn't a lower body injury, so he's been able to keep his conditioning up.
Yeah.
With like a guy like Jordan Davis, that was obviously a big concern. Is this big guy off his feet for that long because it's a high ankle, whereas Goedert, at least he's able to do all the conditioning stuff.
Cardio.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and
he had a funny line on Wednesday. Goedert did. He said, going against the trainers, I feel pretty good, but the players are a little bigger. So, which is fair.
If I'm going against the trainer Sunday, I think I'll be fine.
Yeah.
That'd be a good matchup. I'd like to see that. But yeah, it's great to have him back. And they're really lucky with all these guys.
Yeah. And they're lucky the IR rules changed a few years ago. They've really taken advantage of that this year.
Yeah.
I mean, it used to be they would have had to just carry these guys on the roster,
right,
and burn roster spots on them, whereas they can kind of put them on IR for a few weeks and then bring them back. The old rules really didn't make sense.
No,
it was so limiting for no reason.
Yeah, and the way you can elevate players from the practice squad, all those things make sense and help.
Although I will say, I think the downside, and this is off topic, but the downside to the practice squad stuff is that teams are not adding players, like young players, to the active roster, and that's kind of a shame for them.
Well, I mean, if you play, you get paid a game check.
Yeah, but it also limits, like, you're not on the roster. So,
but if you perform, they put you on the roster. Yeah,
that's true. I guess it gives extra opportunities.
Yeah, and I think it really does. Like, look at Christian Ellis.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's going to be on the 53. I mean, how many? I think he has one more elevation.
Yeah.
The way he's played on special teams, you're not going to just bury him on practice squad.
It'd be tough to.
I think they're going to have to find a spot for him.
Yeah. Well, you won't need 4 tight ends.
That's true too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they already have a spot for Goedert because Aaron Sipas went to IR. Right. And the punter's on the practice squad.
So Tyree Jackson probably gets cut and put on the practice squad.
You probably don't have to do it this week, but eventually.
Right.
Yeah.
Just thinking ahead.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good to have him back. You want to be at full strength going into the postseason down the stretch, and they don't have Chauncey Gardner-Johnson or Reed Blankenship right now. But by the time the playoffs roll around, they're going to be. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen between now and then, but I think
every time someone gets tackled or they go down awkwardly in the next 4 weeks, everyone's going to hold their breath. At this point, like, obviously, you haven't locked the number 1 seed. So that's first and foremost. You want to lock that number 1 seed up. But after that, the next most important thing is stay healthy.
Yeah, there was one year where the Eagles under Big Red had clinched, I believe, the number 2 seed. I think it was 03 or 01. And they played all the backups. They were playing Tampa the last game of the season and then playing Tampa in the playoffs in the wild card game. So they didn't play any starters because they didn't want to get anybody hurt. And Ike Reese suffered a season-ending ankle injury, and he's like, they didn't want to play anybody, so I got hurt. Like, he's like, well, what about me? Like, I'm not important, but
someone's got to play. It's funny too. Like in the end of these blowout games the last couple of weeks, like someone's got to play. So you have like Jordan Mailata out there, you have Landon Dickerson out there, you have Marcus Epps, because they were so short of safety, had to play the whole game. So like you have to field a team, and you don't have enough players to rest everybody.
Right. So who do you protect? Who don't you protect? That's a story for soon. Yeah, you would think, but yeah.
That was good though to see all those young guys get those snaps.
Yeah, you wrote a good story on that.
Yeah, I mean it matters. It's those snaps are important to those players, and if it's Nakobe Dean or Christian Ellis or Josh Jobe got his first defensive snaps in the NFL last week. I mean, those are all matter. And even the Gardner Minshew snaps, I know he's not a young player, but if something ever happens, you need him ready to go. So it's better to get him this work.
Yeah. And for a young guy like Josh Jobe, like most people might not even be watching the game anymore at that point, but that's huge for a guy like that.
Cam Jurgens,
second round pick, actually get on the field and play football.
Yeah, his whole season on the bench for the most part. Yeah, aside from a few snaps at tight end.
Right. And I think he didn't play 3 snaps once when Kelce was in the tent. Yeah, pissed Kelce off, but yeah.
It's fun times.
Yeah,
it's fun that we get to talk about like these plans to rest players because they're so good, but it matters now. Now it's time to really manage, and I think Nick's approach to everything he does bodes well for this situation.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I think so.
He's not some old school coach. We're playing him and keep him healthy.
Yeah, that's everything he does points to them resting people as much as possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it can't alleviate, you know, if someone tears an ACL, they tear an ACL. That's you can't avoid that stuff, but they do everything they can to minimize injury, and it's meant a lot.
Yeah.
Next item on our list here, Mike, what did you make of the Micah Parsons thing? He's on a podcast with Von Miller, and they're talking about MVPs, and Micah kind of throws it out there. Like, well, you know, it's more about scheme and the team, which it's not a scathing. He's not like he said Jalen stinks.
Right.
It's not like the best bulletin board material, but when you have a Cowboy talking about an Eagle, it's going to make some waves.
Yeah, and it doesn't make sense. And obviously having good receivers and having a good scheme and a good play caller and a good coach helps him. But anybody who's watched him play, and he certainly played really well against the Cowboys and Micah Parsons, that's not the case. I mean, he's not a product of the system. He's complements the system, and the system complements him. Micah Parsons is a smart kid. He knows exactly what he's saying.
And he tried to tread lightly.
Yeah.
But he still said it.
Yeah.
And he knows that anything he says about any Eagle is going to be magnified.
Yeah.
The Eagles handled it well.
Handled it really well. Mulata said, Mulata's always funny on this stuff.
Not playing the Chicago Parsons.
Yeah. Parsons School of Design. Eagles are playing the Parsons School of Design, who, by the way, ended their faculty strike this week.
Good.
So it's good.
Good for them.
Yeah.
I'll also say that, you know, the Eagles beat the Cowboys earlier in the year. Jalen's a better quarterback now than he was then.
It's fair.
Week 6. He's just better.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
I mean, that game, they were killing the Cowboys, especially Micah Parsons, with a ton of zone read stuff. They haven't done a lot of that recently.
No,
they haven't needed to.
You're right. For me, it kind of started after the Arizona game. That's when he kind of really hit his stride. He had some games. He hasn't had a bad game this year, but he had some games that were just okay.
Yeah.
But I think over his last 8 games, he's been just on another level, like right up there with Carson before the injury, Foles, like at the end of 2013. I mean, it's one of the best stretches.
I'd say better.
Yeah, I mean, I think statistically, Nick was better those 8 games, but a lot of that was just the Raiders game kind of skews the stats when you have 7 touchdowns and throw for 500 yards in one game. But as far as game by game, it's probably the best 8-game stretch ever by an Eagles quarterback. But Carson in 17 was close.
It was great.
He wasn't as accurate and had a few more interceptions, playing a really high level that we really never saw again, other than brief snippets here and there. But that game is going to be, I mean, look, they got to take care of business. I'm going to get too far ahead of ourselves. We got to take care of business in Chicago Sunday, but that game is so intriguing. Christmas Eve. Yeah. Can't wait.
It'll be a lot of fun.
We're going to have to do a podcast every day next week.
I don't know about that.
2 on Christmas.
So Micah's point, and I thought about this a lot, because what changed on offense from last year to this year? The only starting player they added was A.J. Brown.
Right.
So either A.J. is the MVP, or you look at, okay, well, so what's really changed with this offense? And what's really changed with this offense is how much better Jalen Hurts is playing. Yeah. No one gave him a pass last year because they said, you know, everyone's blaming him.
Right.
So
it's same model, but yeah, obviously,
he was here.
The big difference is the quarterback. And yeah, I remember somebody in training camp asked Kelce, like, you know, with all the changes on offense, he's like, what changes? We signed a wide receiver.
One receiver. I mean, Zach Pascal is a nice added piece, but one starter.
Yeah.
One big time difference maker.
Right.
The rest is Jalen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this is just gamesmanship. I really do.
I don't know if he thought that far through it.
Maybe not, but
I don't know Micah Parsons, but
yeah,
I thought it was like, look, it's a fun conversation you'd have with your buddies at a bar. The difference is he's playing for their biggest rival, and they're going to play each other in a couple weeks in a really important game.
Yeah. And I like the way the Eagles handled it in the locker room. Nobody, because this could easily escalate into, and that's the last thing you want, like is back and forth, name calling, this and that.
Last thing, who wants?
The Eagles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could use it. I like this.
Yeah,
stuff.
For us, it's fun. But like, you gotta concentrate on going to Chicago and playing a Bears team that's really bad, but any given Sunday and all that, they are dangerous in a couple ways. This team has been so good about keeping its focus, and this kind of stuff just doesn't really affect them.
Yeah, it can't. It would have been more fun if this happened next week.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I'm sure it'll be brought up at some point.
There used to be bulletin board material used to be a real thing. Like guys would really talk some smack. Doesn't really happen that much anymore.
Well, there's no bulletin boards anymore. Everything's digital. The Eagles used to actually have a bulletin board in the locker room, and they put stuff like that. There was always an assistant coach who would find that stuff and post it. So yeah, it was. Before the internet, it would take a few days. And we're like, oh wait, a few days ago, this guy said this about this. But like the ultimate was Lomas Brown. 95, and before the playoff game, Ray Didinger was in Detroit advancing the game for the Daily News. That's what he used to do. You'd go out and advance the game, and Lomas Brown, who was Pro Bowl right tackle, guaranteed to win. He said, "We're guaranteed to win," and of course the Eagles were up 51-7 at halftime. and
don't guarantee wins.
Yeah, it's not a good idea,
especially if you're Jalen Reagor. Or your Trevor Laws.
Trevor Laws did that. I still can't believe he said that. Jalen Reagor just did that a couple of weeks ago before the Lions game, was it? Yeah.
And it made the Lions mad.
Sure, I don't blame him. Made Lomas Brown mad. But like, you're Jalen Reagor. I mean, like, it's one thing if Justin Jefferson does it. But
you got to catch a few passes before you start.
Make a play.
That's the same thing with Trevor Laws. What year was that? Probably like 2010-ish.
Yeah, something like that.
Guaranteed to, I forget who we guaranteed to win against.
Yeah, I don't remember. I was just standing at his locker. I don't think he said it to anyone else. I was just asking him about the game, and he's just guaranteed to. I wonder if I can find that story. I'm going to look for it. But
okay. I do like when there's some bad blood though between the Eagles and Cowboys.
Yeah, it's a great rivalry.
Yeah,
and I always wanted to do a book on the rivalry, on the history of the rivalry. I mean, because they played over 100 times now.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
Yeah, and
for a while there, it felt like the Giants had become a bigger rival.
Yeah.
But that's kind of dissipated now.
Yeah, I think so. And this is one of those rare times where the Eagles and Cowboys are both good. That never happens. Mm-hmm. They've really kind of had opposite arcs, and now they're both good. In
a way that kind of made the rivalry unique though. And we should get into all this next week, but like, because you're like trying to spoil the season for the team you hated.
Right.
And that was kind of fun.
Yeah. But this will be, I think a week from Sunday it's going to be an all-time great Eagles Cowboys
week
game.
From Saturday.
Week from Saturday, right.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to send you out there on the wrong day.
Yeah. I'd like to come home on Christmas Day. You find that, Trevor Laws?
I found terms of Demetrius Bell contract point to short stay in Philly.
Well, that was right. We nailed that one.
Reuben Frank of CSNPhilly.com reports that the deal will pay Bell $3.25 million in salary and bonuses with no guaranteed money beyond this year.
That was good. That was a good move on Howie's part not to guarantee Demetrius Bell too much money.
Yeah. Can't find the oh, here we go.
Was it Seattle?
Yes.
I thought so.
Watching the film, I think it's an easily winnable game. If we play our game, we should blow these guys out.
Trevor Laws.
That's when I sprinted to the, to my laptop. And
Day 2 pick Trevor Laws, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, don't guarantee wins. Not going to end well.
Never plays well.
You know who was teammates with Trevor Laws? Brandon Graham. And Jason Kelce?
Really?
I think so. Here.
Wow.
I'm getting into your old guy's story here. This is a segue.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, thanks.
It's crazy to think BG played with Michael Vick. It's just these spanning these different generations. He was a second-round pick.
Mm-hmm. Notre Dame?
Yeah, him and Victor Abiamiri were second-round picks out of Notre Dame. Yeah. Which one was worse? Probably Laws might have been worse. Anyway, We're going way off topic today.
I tried to get us back. You wouldn't let me. The old guys. You had a cool story about the 4 longest tenured players in the organization. So it's Brandon Graham, 2010. It's year by year too, which is fine. Brandon Graham, 2010. Jason Kelce, 2011. Fletcher Cox, 2012. Lane Johnson, 2013.
Yeah, and then the next guy in seniority is 16. So Sayamalo and Lovato, I believe. The middle is 16. But I asked a bunch of young guys or younger guys what it's like to have those guys in the locker room just to kind of watch, because these are guys, you think about it, Kelce might be playing as well as he ever has, which is crazy. He's 34. BG is playing as well as he ever has, which is insane because he's not only 34, but coming off an Achilles. Fletcher is playing his best ball in a couple of years, I think, lately. And Lane's just having a unbelievable year too, playing as well as he ever has. Maybe not better, but as well as he ever has. And these are the oldest guys on the team. And what's it like to be a young guy and around that kind of talent and see these guys who are in their early to mid 30s and playing at that level? What do you learn from being around those guys, just watching them, the way they take care of themselves, the way they study, the way they prepare? So I asked 5 or 6 other younger guys on the team, Miles, Jordan Mailata, Britton Covey, Epps, a couple other guys, what it's like to have them in a locker room and what they can learn from them. And I like the story. I like, these guys are like, they're all like living legends around here, and they're all Pro Bowlers. They're all playing as well as, they're all playing at the top of their game right now. And they're a big reason this team is 12-1. And it's just really unusual to have 4 guys like that who are still not only here, but playing at that level. And and they really do make an incredible impact on the young guys. And so I wrote about that. It was fun.
It's a testament to those players, but also the organization too.
Yeah.
They take care of their, it's always been a big Howie thing. He wants to keep their guys. Obviously he adds free agents and he trades for players, but it's always been their priority to extend their own players and try to get, we saw it a few years ago with that 2018 class, or last year, extending most of that 2018 class. I think it's good for the young players to look at Brandon Graham and Jason Kelce and be like, okay, if I do the right things, if I play well here, I can spend most, if not all, my career here, which is hard to do.
Yeah. That's what Jordan said, Mailata. He's like, it gives me hope. I can be a legend like those guys. And it gives you something to aspire to. And, it's hard to keep a team together. I think one thing about Howie, it's interesting. Like, he always errs on the side of bringing guys back, which is kind of maybe opposite of what you would think.
You think of him as like this gunslinger. He's going to go and try to find ways. And he does, but he wants his core. Right.
And certainly bringing, especially, BG and Fletch back was a little risky. And I know you didn't know how that was going to turn out. And
especially Fletch. Fletch. 14 million.
14 million. And it's paid off. And what a valuable resource. Britton, I love Britton, the way Britton Covey put it. I'll paraphrase. He said, there's people who will spend a lot of money, seeking out the best in their profession, whether it's, traveling to seminars or hiring a guy or reading about it, just like, oh, you want to learn from the best. And he said, we have the best in our profession right in our building, right in our room. What a resource. And he said it goes beyond like what side of the ball you're on or, what position you play. Like, everyone in this locker room can learn from watching those guys. It's really special. And, one day, they're all going to be, Kelce is going to be in the Hall of Fame, Fletch outside shot, but they're all going to be Eagles Hall of Famers, first ballot. I'd like to see them all going together. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, a lot.
It'd be a busy halftime.
Maybe they'll put BG and Fletch together and put Kelce and Lane together.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, it's done. Let's find out when.
I'll tell Jeffrey. Schedule it for 2026 or whatever.
Who knows? The way they're playing.
I know.
Yeah. BG could play forever.
Yeah, you might be able to.
It's the Nissan Thrill of the Drive event, so gift yourself what you really want this holiday season. Shop your local Nissan store or visit nissanusa.com today. Just like the holidays, these offers won't last.
Opioid addiction is a national public health crisis. The Someone You Know podcast from Independence Blue Cross Foundation offers inspiring stories that challenge stigma, offer hope, and humanize the disease of addiction. Download the new Season 3 of Someone You Know on all major podcast platforms. Rube, the Bears.
The Bears.
They stink.
I
mean, they're just not a very good team. And look, you give the Eagles credit because they're approaching this like they are. And you have to, because crazy things happen in this league. But I don't know if there's anyone on the planet who's going to pick the Bears in this game.
I am.
Are you?
No.
Okay. I got excited there. I'll take a game.
No. But it's a dangerous game for a couple reasons. I mean, I'm not a big believer in trap games, but I mean, the Giants and the Cowboys, I'm going to look up like the Eagles record in games against non-division teams surrounded by division games. Because I don't think it's the easiest thing in the world. It's on the road.
That's fair.
You're looking at 3 straight road games, and they have one player that's really, really good at what he does, and that's their quarterback running. He can kill you. I mean, Jalen runs for 70. This guy runs for like 200 yards in a game. Yeah. Look, I don't think the Eagles are going to lose. I think they'll probably blow them out, but Fields scares you with his running ability. Yeah,
he missed practice on Wednesday with an illness, so we'll track that throughout the week. But I did my matchups this week, and that's clearly the top one. That's the most dangerous part of their offense is him taking off. And basically the Eagles got to like face that on easy mode against the Giants because Daniel Jones will run, and he's dangerous like that. But this is another level to that. And so it's being disciplined in your rush lanes, just doing your job and not going off script, because if you leave a lane, he's going to go. I mean, he's going to go for big yards. And I don't think they'll do what the Titans did against the Eagles and basically stop rushing. I don't think that's the way to do it, but I think you have to change the way you rush.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt about it. I don't think Justin Fields can beat this team, even if he runs for 3
Think they spy
yards.
him?
No. Who's going to spy him?
Kaiser.
I just think you're taking too much out of your coverage, and I'm not a big fan of spying unless you have somebody that, I mean, I'm not sure Kaiser can. I mean, he's a good athlete, but I'm not sure how much he can help. So I think you just have to be disciplined and
I think it'll be a mixture.
B gap sound, maybe. Spying scares me.
I get it. You're taking a player off the field, basically.
Yeah. But
but taking a player out of coverage, who are they covering?
That's a fair point.
I mean, their best receivers on IR, Mooney.
Yeah. You also have to wonder.
Chase Claypool's hurt.
Who are the Eagles safeties, too? Like,
that's true.
I mean, one thought is that maybe Kayvon will play more than usual because he's a better tackler, than Anthony Harris. He's more physical at the line of scrimmage. He's a box player. Anthony Harris is more of a cover guy, and I don't know how much you need that.
Yeah, but you'll have Epps in the box.
You have Epps in the box, but
That's my my next matchup is Cole Kmet, because, I mean, the receivers are just non-existent. He's not great, but you think maybe in this game where you have some questions at safety, maybe that's where they'll try to attack a little bit.
Maybe. Eagles have been really good against tight ends this year.
They have.
I think they've been tackling really well. TJ Edwards has been, tackling great lately. They all have. So I don't see Cole Kmet really hurting this team. I mean, what's he averaging, like 30 yards a game?
Yeah, I mean, he's not been very good.
Yeah.
35 catches for 408 yards, 5 touchdowns.
408 divided by 13 is 31 yards a game. Yeah, I'm not going to lose sleep over Cole Kmet.
Yeah, I mean, the only one you lose sleep over is Justin Fields. And you're right. I don't think he can beat you on his own.
Yeah. You also wrote about the Bears O-line versus the Eagles pass rush.
Yeah, some chances there. The O-line's below average. It's not a disaster, but it's not great either. They've taken a lot of sacks. Now, with a quarterback who runs a lot, some of that is
right,
on Fields, but still 42 sacks this year the Bears have given up. That's a lot.
Eagles have 49 sacks lead the NFL, one more than the Cowboys, on pace for the 11th most in NFL history. Obviously 17 games, but still, it's a lot of sacks.
Yeah.
They had 29 all last year.
It's crazy.
Yeah, they're going to double that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So my one little matchup there is Josh Sweat against Braxton Jones, who's okay at left tackle, but Sweat's been on such a tear recently. If he can beat Andrew Thomas like he did last week, Braxton Jones might be in trouble.
Yeah. I feel like Sweat's playing the best football of his career the last 6 weeks, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a sack in 3 straight games. He's got 5 in the last 5 games. He's got, I believe, 7.5.
Yeah,
for the season. It's crazy. If he gets 2.5, BG gets 1.5, Hargrave gets 2, and
Reddick's already there.
Reddick's already there. They would be the first team in history with 4 guys with 10 sacks.
Possible.
It's possible. I mean, 2.5 in 4 games for Sweat. It's going to be tough, but the way he's playing, I wouldn't bet against him.
5-5.
He might get him Sunday.
He might get it by the first half.
He might.
And then, so you look at the Eagles' offense here. Okay, well, if they're going to stop the Bears' offense, what can they do against the Bears' defense? I think they can kind of pick what they want to do.
Yeah.
I think it feels a lot like the Giants game where, the 2 weeks before that you had you run all over the Packers, you throw all over the Titans. Last week it's balanced. I think this week it can be balanced too.
It wasn't really balanced. They really just threw in the first half and ran in the second half. It ended up balanced.
Up being balanced.
But I mean, it wasn't like it was. I mean, it was balanced in the final product, but it was really very, spelled out how they did it.
And I think it could be the same this week.
I do too.
Because I think you can just dictate what you want to do against this team. I mean, they have a few good players on defense, but Eddie Jackson's out.
Yeah.
Who's been a good player for a long time. I think Brisker might be back, and he'll help the safety from Penn State. But they just don't have a lot of playmakers. They have one guy with 3 sacks.
It's crazy.
Eagles have 4 with 6.
Yeah.
Like they just have no pass rush. So a few weeks ago, we saw Hurts out of that really clean pocket against Tennessee. He was dialed in, picking them apart. That was by design from Tennessee. It might not be by design from Chicago, but I can't imagine them getting a ton of pressure.
No. I think I think the way this offense is right now, they can do whatever they want.
Mm-hmm.
Again, against a team like the Bears.
Yeah. And look, Roquan is a very good player, but he can't. I mean, he's by himself.
There's only one of him.
Yeah, only one of him. You can run on this team too.
Yeah.
So I think it could be a big Miles Sanders day.
What a year he's having.
Great year.
We don't talk about him enough.
I feel like we talk about him quite a bit.
Maybe we talk about him too much.
All right. You're not a movie guy.
Well, yeah, go ahead.
Have you ever seen The Waterboy?
No, but I saw the band The Waterboys.
Not what? I don't think there's a
Mike Scott, Hole of the Moon.
No.
You know that song, Hole of the Moon?
I don't think so.
Okay.
But Adam Sandler gave Miles a shout out. Kind of fun.
I did see a movie once with Adam Sandler in it. It was like The Wedding Singer, maybe?
Wedding Singer, okay.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad movie.
It's on TV every 5 minutes, so.
Really?
I feel it'd be hard not to see The Wedding Singer.
Yeah.
But kind of cool. So this is my little claim to fame. I asked Miles a question, and the Eagles left my question in their little video that Adam Sandler responded to.
Oh, okay.
So Adam Sandler heard my question.
Interesting. Oh, wow. That's
kind of cool.
Yeah.
I'll take that.
You're like almost a celebrity.
We're basically best friends, me and Sandler, me and the Sandman.
You and Bill Clinton and Adam Sandler.
I'm really, things are going well for me right
now. Here's an interesting stat. Miles is on pace for 1,300 yards, 13 touchdowns, and is averaging 5.2 yards a carry. A.J. Brown's on pace for 1,300 receiving yards and 15 yards a catch and 13 touchdowns or more. No team has ever had both those in the same season. So a running back and a receiver with 1,300 yards, 13 touchdowns, the running back at over 5.0 and the receiver over 15.0.
It's going to kill you when these guys don't play the last 2 games of the year, huh?
No, I'll be okay because now I'll have like all these Kenny Gainwell stats and, Zach Pascal stats. That was the most blah, blah, blah. Grant Calcaterra's 13 catches are the most by. Yeah, well, I'll be okay.
You met Brett Kern.
Yeah, Brett Kern, kind of like every other punter.
Punters are cool.
Yeah.
Punters are are the coolest of the specialists?
Well, Sean Landette is the coolest person I've ever met in my life.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, there's stories. There's good stories.
I've heard some of those stories.
They're all true.
We were hearing some stories in the press box that I can't repeat, but
yeah,
good stories.
He's a great guy. He's the only guy that would like. He was still playing when he was like 47. He would go to like the alumni game and then go out and play, like, you know. But Brett Kerr, he was out of work all year. He hasn't been with the team since the Titans cut him in August. And he said it was interesting. He said he kind of kept his routine that he would have if he was with a team. So he would kick the same days he would kick. He'd lift the same days he would, the same time of day he would lift. He just wanted to stay as close to his routine as possible. He knew he was going to kick again. He said he knew he was just waiting for the right opportunity. And he said there's like the punting community, like when a punter gets hurt, like all the punters find out instantly. And he said there haven't been any injuries. He said the Patriots are the only team that changed punters this year. So he said it's kind of unusual. Usually there's a lot of movement. So he said it was just waiting for the right opportunity. He knows a lot of people here. Jason Michael was down in Tennessee. The masseuse Molly was down in Tennessee, the Eagles masseuse. And he's obviously played with AJ. He and AJ are pretty good friends. So he just said,
see what I mean? Punters friends with AJ Brown.
Yeah.
Punters are cool. Punters are part of the team. Sometimes the kickers are like the weird squirrely guys. Jake's kind of a cool dude because he's good at everything. But
yeah,
a lot of times the kickers are like the weird guy in the corner. They're not a part of the team like the punter.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, he's not what he used to be a few years ago, but he's still really good.
Yeah. Upgrade?
So we'll see. Sipes has been better.
Yeah. He's been fine all year.
Yeah, we'll see. This guy's his touchbacks to inside the 20 ratio is insane. I think in the last 7 years he got 219 inside the 20 and 18 touchbacks. Yeah. So he knows what he's doing.
You said that to me like you were asking me. Like, I don't know.
I thought you would have read my story and have memorized that number.
The last thing here, Pro Bowl voting still ongoing. Eagles, the same three Eagles are leading at their respective positions. So you have Jalen Hurts, the quarterback, Javon Hargrave at defensive tackle, Jason Kelce at center.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Kelce's as much of a lock as anybody in the league. Maybe Mahomes might be a lock. But and just keeps, adding to his Hall of Fame resume. I'm happy for Hargrave because he's kind of he's a quiet guy. He doesn't talk a whole lot. He's, he doesn't say much, but he's played really well. Really consistent season.
Yeah.
And good player. When you talk about that D-line.
Finally getting his due because he was playing in a system that didn't let him really do much in terms of rushing the passer in Pittsburgh. So
it's crazy how many sacks they have from their interior linemen because I think Fletch has 6, Hargrave has 8. That's 14. I think Tui Pelotu got 1. I think Milton has 3, 2 or 3. So they're getting a lot of pressure from the inside.
I'm looking at the list here to see if there's anyone who should be leading the league at a spot that isn't. They only have one on this leaderboard. It's only one tackle, right? Yeah, it's just one tackle, and the tackle in the NFC is Trent Williams. Lane has a case there, I guess.
Yeah.
The NFC tight end is TJ Hawkinson, who has played for 2 teams, both in the NFC.
Right.
He's put up bigger numbers than Goedert, but Goedert's been out.
Yeah.
I think Goedert's a better player.
And the players vote, I believe, tomorrow.
Okay.
Players league-wide. And how it works is if you vote for your same conference, the opposite side of the ball. So, like the Eagles corners will vote for NFC wide receivers, et cetera.
I think Slay has a case over Tariq Woolen.
Yeah.
In Seattle.
Yeah. There'll be a number of Eagles.
Yeah. And this is just the top at the position. So,
and I have a theory that, they say everything counts a third, like the player vote, the coach vote, and the fan vote. I think
you have conspiracy here?
I don't think the fan vote really counts that much.
Really?
Yeah. Okay. It's just, I think they take the player vote and the coach vote a lot more into account.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I like a good conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
Do you subscribe to any other conspiracy theories?
Well, I saw that movie Capricorn 1 with O.J. Simpson about the fake moon landing.
Mm-hmm.
It convinced me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big OJ guy over there?
Yeah, I don't think we ever made it to the moon. I think it was all filmed in a desert in Arizona.
That's a popular one. I have my one hat with has a Sasquatch on it, and I was talking to Tom Feiner in our office a few weeks ago, and we're talking about Sasquatch and Bigfoot, and I was like, I don't need much to be convinced that's one I'm kind of all in on. I like that one.
Really? You're all in on Sasquatch?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not buying that one. The one I do believe is that when the Knicks drafted Patrick Ewing, it was fixed. And I studied that when I was in college. You can watch the video, and when the commissioner reached it, they had like a big bin with the numbers, like what, they were picking the draft order. And the Knicks were really down. Patrick Ewing was like the biggest prospect coming out. He was coming out of Georgetown that the league had seen in years. And the league really wanted Ewing in New York to kind of help build up. The league needed that market. And the Knicks were terrible. And you can see the commissioner, I forget who it was back then, but you can see him fishing around in the big bin. And there was one piece of paper that had a little fold in it. And that's the one he picks out. Wow. And that was the Knicks, and they got the first pick, and they took Ewing.
I like that stuff.
Yeah.
Now with YouTube, like you can go down rabbit holes.
Yeah.
You can just look at conspiracy theories. You look up and it's 6 a.m. Oh no, what happened here?
Yeah.
Prediction?
Do a whole podcast on conspiracy theories.
Got a prediction here? It was David Stern.
David Stern. Thanks, Ben.
Yeah.
Ben probably has seen that video too of David Stern taking that little bent piece of paper. Yeah, I'm picking the Eagles by a couple touchdowns.
Yeah.
31-13 type thing.
It'd be hard to not pick the Eagles.
Yeah.
In this game.
Yeah. The only thing, like I said, the only thing is Giants last week, Cowboys this week, but this team doesn't seem to be affected by that stuff. They're so focused. You don't get to 12-1 if you're not.
Yeah, fair enough. All right. If you enjoy the Eagle Eye podcast.
Oh, I've seen that one. I don't know. I don't know if we can talk about that.
Yeah, why not?
There's a lot of evidence out there.
Let's go evidence in air quotes here.
I don't believe this. Yeah, we'll make that a topic for another day.
Yeah. It's that a famous person can indeed see. And we'll leave it at that. If you enjoy the Eagle Eye podcast, please rate and subscribe wherever you get your pods. If you're watching on YouTube, please click the like button and subscribe there as well. We'll talk to you after the game on Sunday. That's it for Reuben. This has been Eagle Eye presented by Nissan.